Hello and welcome to Lean in Government episode number 7. I'm Alan Ganick, and in this episode, we're starting part 1 of multi-episode series focused on how Lean methodology was used to completely transform warehouse operations and deliver millions of dollars in annual savings. Warehouse operations often are viewed as fixed cost, especially in government. In this series, I will show you why that mindset is wrong, and how lean thinking helped us see waste, improve flow, develop people, and achieve sustainable financial results without major capital investment. Let's get started. So how it all started is with one warehouse at a time. And how everything starts in lean, we always look at things from what areas do we need to improve? What problems do we need to solve? Same in this case, in this series, part 1 of many series to come, because it took me years to transform all warehouse operations, and there are many of them, and get rid of some space and save millions of dollars with my team on an annual basis. So it's going to take a while to tell you the story, explain how it works, so you can hopefully do this in your city, in your government organization. It all began with a need. So my manager at that time got promoted to a managing director position, and they gave her, I believe, 6 different departments within the city that she needs to manage. So each department had its own director, and she was managing those directors and leading them. One of the things she found out, because she was leading all those major departments, water, wastewater, traffic and safety, water plant, and so on, parking services, they were all using millions of dollars to purchase an annual basis inventory to replenish. And they were using some of that inventory when they were fixing roads, fixing parking ramps, fixing water, wastewater treatment plants, and installing, fixing signs and traffic lights and so on. So they need to do the business, they need to have inventory. It's a common sense. However, lots of money was spent, I wouldn't say wasted, but it was spent on inventory. At that time, we didn't know if it was waste or not, because we did not know the current state. So my leader came to me and asked me for advices, and I kept giving him advices how, from the lean perspective, things should be done, to the point where she said, I had enough. I can't handle it anymore. That's too much of work. What do you think about me creating a position for you and you taking care of all the inventories for the city of Grand Rapids? So I agreed, and I said, hey, let's do this. Let's do a pilot program. So what I wanted to do in government, especially, the private sector is a little bit different, but private sector, sometimes you have to be careful to see if people are going to be willing to change, if people are going to follow the change that we implemented. So I wanted to test it and just to try it to see if it works or not. So and that's what we did. We did a pilot program we agreed on. And I said, hey, let me do this for 6 months. I'll do my best to show you the improvements that we could make potentially for the entire city. And if this works for you and the top leadership, like mayor, city manager, HR, and so on, if that works for you, then we can make this a position that you create a permanent position, and we can start working on other warehouses as well. So here's how it began. First warehouse that she wanted me to work on as a pilot was traffic and safety. There was a great gentleman there who was the director of that department, willing to change, and he was willing to make improvements for his departments. Awesome guy. And this is what really helped me initially. So this is important. When you introduce lean to governmental departments, you need to find a good champion. You need to find a person that's welcoming you, that says, I want to see something change, improve, and somebody to help me bring some change to my department. So I always look for that champion. And my boss found me one director who was really willing to do, a super smart guy, loved his welcome, and he allowed me to come to his environment and to take his warehouse as a pilot program. So when we started in his environment, in his warehouse, it was a big warehouse. At that time, they had around, I don't know, about 1.9 million maybe in inventory that they had. And what they had inside that warehouse, it's a huge warehouse. They had like all the signs that you use on the highway, on the street, stop sign, yield, whatever you see on the street, they had it. Number two, traffic signals. They were managing a traffic department and they were in charge of installing, replacing, fixing all the traffic signals within the city and outside the city. They were servicing other cities as well. And then also electrical wires, anything that you need to run power from a building to a building to hook up to the grid, they had those supplies as well. Reels and reels of wire. But when this gentleman and I walked into his warehouse for the first time, I was surprised how much inventory they had. Number one. Number two, I was there with him to do initial lean assessment. So before you propose any change, before you do anything, what's most important in lean is to remember from first couple episodes to listen, observe, and see for yourself the current state. So you can't really improve or tell somebody how to improve if you don't even know what your current state is. And that's what this gentleman and I did. So we went out there and I did a basically lean assessment. We're not going to go into details. If you want to look for lean assessments, for the forms and questions you should be asking, things you should be looking, you should find that on your own time. But that's basically what I did. 100% lean assessment to find out what is the current state of this warehouse. And then after we went to the warehouse, I looked at the books. How do we document things? To make the long story short, this gentleman and I couldn't even get into the stockroom, how packed it was. The stockroom had many, many uprights and shelves and shelving units against the wall, in the middle, everywhere. I mean, it had storage, but on top of that, they had so much inventory that they had to store pallets and pallets in aisles and in between those shelving units and pallet racks. So that's why him and I could not really safely go through the warehouse from one end to the other end. There was like one entrance and then exiting at the other end. The other end was the receiving dock, and the other side was where employees would walk in to grab stuff. But it was fully packed, so no doubt about it. That's one thing that I saw. So fully packed, lots of inventory, got it. Let's look at the books. And the books can really clearly tell me how much inventory they had, because what this department did, like every other department of the city until we changed that, they only did inventory audits once a year. They would audit everything once a year, plug it in somewhere in an Excel spreadsheet, and spit out a report that says how much inventory they have on books. And the city would basically document that inventory, write off any inventory that's missing, that's gone, and that's it. That's how they balance the books once a year. And you'll see in future episodes how we completely changed that, how books were balanced on a very, very regular basis, and cycle audits, cycle counts were done on a regular basis as well. So then what I did, I initially wanted to speak to every single employee who is the customer of that stock room. So that warehouse we call the stock room. So I interviewed all the employees. So they're different employees. It's like 3 different groups. You have sign shop, you have signals, and then you have street lighting. Street lighting, they install street lights and run wires, for the electrical equipment. So those 3 departments within one department. So I spent some time with all of them. And one thing that I heard from all these different teams is, Ellen, we have lots of inventory. When I mentioned to them, how come you have so much inventory? And they were laughing. And it would say, we do have a lot of inventory on hand, but we don't have the inventory that we need to have. So when we go on the jobs, the problems that we have, we think we have it because we don't have a system really that tells us what we have on hand. Then we go to the stockroom and we can't find the part that we need. Even though the stockroom has close to $2 million worth of inventory, we do not have the inventory that we need. And that is our problem. And that's where I started. I didn't start from making beautiful and 5S'ing this, 5S'ing that, making things like shiny objects. That's wrong approach. What I did is to solve the problems for the people that use this inventory. And who are those people? My internal customers. So I did not deal with external customers, cities, counties that use our services. No, my customer was the internal customer, those divisions like signs, signals, and street lighting. So I wanted to focus on helping them. And I said to them all, after we met separately, then we had a one group meeting where the director did his talk for a few minutes, introduced me again, to the entire team and told them why I'm even at his department and what the end goal looks like, that we want to transform warehouse operations from traditional running warehouse operation stockroom to a lean stockroom. And people already knew me because I had these interviews one-on-one or with teams. I even went to the field, not just in the office and conference room. I went with them to the field, and I felt that pain when we took the truck from a job site back to the stockroom and they didn't have the part. They had to go to the second floor and ask the lady to place an order. And now that area, that corner needed to be coned off, or that corner needed to be, we needed to borrow steel parts from one unit to another, go back to the office, steal from the cabinets parts. And then when parts arrive, they put back in those brand new assembled cabinets there on standby for new constructions. So a lot of waste in transportation, a lot of waste in inventory, because we had lots of inventory that we didn't need, but we didn't have inventory that we really needed. So there's lots of wait in waiting. So if our people had to wait to install something, the customer, whoever that is, had to wait as well. So if the traffic light, imagine, is down, then you have to put those stop signs and you have to make it four-way. Or if you're missing a part, you need to switch the light from red, yellow, green to just flashing red. So everybody has to treat that intersection as four-way stop sign. And that is not good for the external customer, not good for our internal customers. So that's the pain that they had. So I began to find out first our current state. Remember how I talked about value stream mapping? So for that team and those people back then, there was like foreign language. And I didn't bother them with that. And shouldn't bother people right away with the tools, some tools you use initially. You don't have to explain everything to them. So I did on my own value stream map to understand how these parts get issued, how these parts get ordered, how do we replenish, and how we document what we have. So I done it on my own, figured it out, understood what it is, and then I worked with the teams and displayed it and said, hey, this is what I have learned. I just need you to confirm, to let me know, am I on the right track or not? Did I miss something? And basically, I would say most of the time, 90% of the time, what I document is correct. There's always a few things that you need to change. You miss things, people don't tell you, forget to tell you, not that they want to tell you, they just forget to tell you certain things, minor things. So we polished that. I documented the problem that we want to solve and discussed this with the team. We want to have the right parts at the right time, at the right price, when we needed it. That's basically it. That's all my internal customers were caring about. Give me the things I need, the right things at the right time, at the lowest possible cost, which is understandable. We are all customers. We all buy something. Why do we go with these major chains like Amazon? Because we know we can rely on it. We'll get it when we need it. We know most of the time they have the cheapest price, best price, and that's what we as customers want. We want the right thing at the right time and at the lowest possible price tag. So what did we do? So first thing first, before touching anything, I wanted to figure out what we have. But before I could even do that, I had to do step number 101 in lean. What's the number one tool in lean and method we need to practice is 5S, workplace organization. So what I told the director and the team, listen, guys, it's hard to tell what we have. Bringing here people now, we can bring an army, okay, and deploy them in the warehouse to do a count and tell us what we have. That's one thing. But what I don't want is just one-time count and we know at that moment what we have. What I really want to know is every single day, every second, to build a system so we know what's where and what do we have. And that's what we did. So we 5S'd. We did in sections because the warehouse was huge. And then there was another addition to it. Then there was another warehouse storage area underneath in the basement where we had a sign shop. It's called sign shop. Then the street lighting people had in the garage where they parked the trucks. They also had supplies there. I mean, there were material everywhere. Then we have garages that are technically for parking trucks and pickup trucks and those big trucks that they use in the field. They use those on the side of those vehicles. They use that space as storage space as well. So they had space everywhere. And on top of all that, They had a off-site, another building completely packed. I'm telling you, completely packed from the floor to the ceiling. Huge building. And that's where we found hundreds and thousands of parts for signals, for the traffic signs, and for street lighting. So, because they couldn't store everything on site, they had to store that off site. And I'm not going to tell you everything today, but to make the long story short, that offsite, in future episodes, you're going to find out what we did and how we eliminated a space completely. I mean, we eliminated that warehouse space completely so the mayor and city manager were able to sell it to the private sector and collect taxes from the private sector. Instead of us wasting money, because you don't pay taxes, we're government. We're not going to tax ourselves, right? So there was no profit to us, no revenue coming in for that building. So we later, when we empty it, we give it to the private sector and it was sold. So that was a very nice thing for the mayor, city manager, whoever had made that deal. So now we started 5Sing, workplace organization. Where do we start? From the receiving. Remember, receiving was on this end. Then we had one entrance here, then another additional warehouse, and then back here, across the parking lot, everywhere. So I had to start from somewhere. So I want to start from receiving. The other problem I had is how can you manage something? How can you manage $1 million or $2 million worth of inventory if you have a part-time person managing that? You have 3 divisions within one department, and there was only one lady, part-time, not part-time, she was full-time there, but her part-time job was to replenish the inventory. As people would tell her what they ran out, she would start placing the orders. So people had to scream and yell to trigger the system to order. And I don't mean literally, but you know what I mean. So there was no system. She was very frustrated. This lady, her morale, employee morale was down. Why? Because there was no system. She only knows when somebody runs out of something. And those people, when she places an order, they blame her or they don't feel comfortable and they express their frustrations when they speak to her because it's going to take a while to get something. So in street lighting and signals, even signs, setting inventory can take weeks. It's a special order. It has to be made, has to be transported to us from all parts of the United States, from different states. So it had to come to us. So it could take weeks, it could take months. There's some items that I figure out later that we need to have a safety stock for that took months and months and months to get it. And imagine that these people had to waste their time thinking outside the box how they can band-aid this process until this real part arrives. And these people that worked in the field are super intelligent people. I love what they did, super smart, but that was not the reason to not give them parts that they need. They shouldn't be improvising. They shouldn't be doing outside the box thinking about some band-aids. That's waste of money, waste of time, horrible customer service. And the best thing is, it's not their fault. Remember, in lean, we don't blame people. Even those people provide those services, and it might look to us bad. Yeah, we can blame them. We see them physically, they're humans. But think in lean, if you have been practicing lean now for a little bit, we don't blame people. We blame what? We blame processes. And that's all I blamed. Never for a second was I blaming people. Even though some groups, some people would come to me and say, yeah, this guy, man, is it the problem? Or that lady is a problem child. You're going to always hear that. So the reason I'm mentioning this, because you will encounter that kind of conversation. And I'm trying to share with you what to do about it. So number one, don't think that that person is a problem. Number two, educate the person that came to you to backbite or whatever. Tell them that you are a lean person and that you have learned over the years that we blame processes, not people. And we're going to find out what in a process is wrong to allow that person to fail. Okay. So what do we do? So we 5S, receiving dock first. So we 5S to receiving. I remember all these conduits that were all mixed up. So we sorted all the conduits by size, by type, and how they were used. So conduits that our electricians use every single day, they were closest to the overhead door and the exit door. Things that we used so much, they were at the end of the aisle. Then, instead of this one lady that worked there, I told them we need to hire, for now, one full-time person. So we hired a storekeeper for the first time. So this lady, I don't know, she was admin slash storekeeper. She had two titles. And she tried to do admin work, pay the bills, do this and that. And then when she gets yelled and told that something is missing, she would go place an order. I told them, listen, this is not going to work. In America, we say one thing. You want to make money, you have to spend money. To make money, you got to spend money. And that's true in Lean as well. People think, many times I speak at conferences or talk to someone, they always say, Alan, well, I don't like Lean. I heard about it. That's cutting people, eliminating jobs. No, Lean is completely opposite of that. And you will hear in my future episodes how all these people, storekeepers, their job titles got changed, and everyone at once start making more money than what they had made in the past. Even those people that were in position for years, we changed it. But that's a long story. We're not there yet. Just to give you an idea, Lean is not about eliminating people. Yeah, you might eliminate some jobs, improve something, but we're not going to get rid of that person. Okay. So that's one thing. And we need to make that clear from the beginning when we start a lean journey at any organization, doesn't matter government, like in this lean and government podcast I'm talking about, or even in the private sector, that's the same thing. We always tell people at the beginning of lean journey that we're never going to eliminate jobs. And then you put that fear away from people. Everyone, including myself, we always fear we're going to lose a job. Why? Because how am I going to pay the bills? I'm going to feed my family. Okay. We are humans. We have families. Even if you're single, you still have to pay bills. You still have to buy food, pay your rent, whatever. So we need to take that fear out of the way. And that's what I did with the folks. I said, listen, guys, I know you heard sayings. They start Googling. That's not what lean is. I have the agreement from my boss and from top management. This is straight from top management. Not a single person in this department or anywhere else where we implement lean will lose their job. We can guarantee you that. If anything, some of your jobs might change because we no longer require that kind of a position. So we're going to either give you additional education, promote you, or give you a different title, different position, but you will not lose a job. If anything, you're going to make more money. So when you put that fear out of the way, so people now can clearly think outside the box how to help you. But if you don't tell them this at the beginning, they always will have that in the back of their mind. What's going to happen to me in my position? I'm helping them. They're making this better. Sooner or later, they're not going to require 4 people to do the same job. Only one person should be able to do it after we simplify everything. So that's why I'm mentioning this right now. So what did we do? So we 5-fast, I said receiving duck, and slowly we did a plan and went down the entire warehouse. But before I did any of that, before I touched anything, number one, what I do, I went to did a gamble walk with the director of the department. Then I went to the job site, talked to them in the lunchroom, in the conference room, in the truck, while they're picking things in the warehouse. I was everywhere. And I try to be everywhere with them. Okay. So to learn from them what bothers them, what improvements they want to see. Why? Because they're my end customers. If they're happy at the end, I will be happy. If they're happy about the improvements that I have made with my team, they're going to tell others. They're going to tell their families. They're going to tell their colleagues and friends in other departments. And that's a good thing for Lean, because then you're going to create a pull system where other departments can say, hello, we want that too. How come Alan and his team worked in this area and made all those improvements? Look at us. We have struggles as well. And that's exactly what happened. And you're going to hear this in the future episodes. So after I did this, interviews, talking, listening, observation, documented the current state using a VSM, regime mapping. Then what I did a strategic plan. So I developed a plan, and I did this with an A3 document. If you're not familiar with A3 process, I'm not going to be able to explain this here, but this is a great tool that you can use for solving bigger problems or to run bigger projects, to propose, to use like a project proposal sheet. That's a great tool as well. And in Lean, we love that. So what did I do? I used an A3 as a mother A3. So I proposed this to the top leadership, including the director of the department. And I said, this is what we're going to do. It's going to take us 6 months. And these are the things we're going to change. First, I told them why we have been wanting to change or make any changes in the warehouse operation. Then what's the current state? I told them quickly what the current state is. I had some visuals as well. What's the root cause of these problems that we had? So I broke down the problems. So what are the root causes? What are the goals? What goals do I have? What targets do I want to hit? Okay. And then what we do, we also explain the countermeasures. Those are ideas for improvements. Okay, here's the problem you have. Now we know the root cause of that problem. Well, what you going to do about the root cause? So we created for each root cause a countermeasure. So that's the idea that we document. And then we had an action plan, how we're going to execute this improvement plan. And we started to speak to the leaders about that before we touched anything. So remember, I did all this, haven't touched anything, even the 5S, forget about that for now. I haven't even done that yet. I wanted to meet with top leaders and propose to them. And I said, give me 6 months. This is how many people I'm going to need. So we had to hire because you guys who work for government, you know what I'm talking about because you don't have extra hands laying around that can help you. So what do you do in government? We hire temps. And that's exactly what I did. I went to temp agency and said, listen, this is what I need. I need somebody who can operate a forklift. I don't want to train them. We'll give them training so they can get our license. That's okay. But I don't want to train them how to operate a forklift. Give me somebody with experience. Give me somebody that worked in the warehouse for at least a couple of years, and we listed some other things that were important as well. And they gave me those candidates. I interviewed them and hired some temp staff that assisted me with this transition. And I told those folks, you're going to be here for 6 months. And if you do well and we make a positive change, you can probably work with me for years going forward because when people see positive things and positive change, trust me, we ain't going to stop here. We're going to go to other departments. We're going to transform other warehouses. And I'm going to take you with me. Number two, if you like working for government and like this environment, you will have a high chance for applying for openings. And I guarantee there will be openings within the city, and you can apply for those. And who's going to get a better chance than you, who has done lots of this work along the way? So that's what motivated temps. And we gave them a good pay too. We gave those temps a very good fair pay, so they don't have to worry about that. So I got a good team of temps. And those are the people that are going to do lots of this manual labor when our people are at work in the office, doing what they have to do in the office, or people out in the field. And those are the folks that help me. So I lead the whole plan on this so-called Mother A3. And then when I got the approval and the green light from the top management, the director and my manager, then I created the phase 1 child A3. And then I broke into I typically break into 4 phases. Sometimes to transform, depends how big operation is. But the fastest I was able to do is 6 months. And the longest it took me was 2 years. So yes, sometimes it takes 2 years to transform big, large warehouse operations to 100% lean environment. Same thing with manufacturing. People ask me, how long does it take? How long do you think it's going to take us to become a lean manufacturing? I tell people 2-3 years if we all work hard. Well, that long? Yes, that long. Changing a culture is not easy. Changing a human habits is not easy. That's why it takes this long. Anyway, this team, leadership team, accepted it. People in the field start feeling more comfortable that I'm there because I'm there. Then now they get it. He's here to help us, not to cut the jobs. He promised us that's not going to happen. Top leaders confirmed that. So we don't have to worry about that. Now we are willing to help this gentleman and his team to transform the warehouse. And that's how I started with the Child A3 phase 1. And phase 1 was facing basically everything. And why do we do FS? Why do I start with 5S? Well, if you can't do FS, you can't do lean. Forget about other tools. Forget about visual management. Forget about A3, VSM, SMED, whatever. Why? Because that's the foundation of lean. When you build a house, how good is it if you have good walls, a roof on top of your house, and the foundation is bad? Everything's going to fall down. Same thing in lean. Make sure you focus. If you can succeed in focus, educate people, create habits to sustain focus, the rest, I guarantee you, it's going to be easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Why? Because you built a good foundation. And people, they don't build good foundation, they fail. That's why in the United States of America, we have so many organizations in government and in private sector that fail lean and think it's lean problem. No, it's not lean problem. It's how you approached it and how you used it. Because you didn't use it properly and you now blame the lean because it's your fault, actually. And when I say you, it's leader. So that is your fault, not the lean's fault, right? So we as leaders should take always blame. That's why we get leadership positions. Okay. So that's why I'm mentioning this right now at this first episode, part 1 for this warehouse transformation series that we're going to have is build a good foundation. Follow these steps that I share with you, how I got there, and then 5S. Forget about the rest. Forget about the software, systems, whatever. Just do 5S. And as you improve, make sure you sustain. Make sure you build an audit system. Make sure you educate people. Make sure you hold people accountable. Because you got to set examples. No, it is not acceptable to put a shovel there because it goes there. Now it has a assigned home. It has a assigned location. I know 90% of the warehouse still looks like a mess, but at least we have 10% 5S. What we have 5S, maintain it that way and stay on top of it. I have this rule that I read somewhere that it takes a human 21 days to create a good habit. So if we stay on top of it for 21 days, let's say a month, with people, and we hold them accountable for that month, that will become a habit. Trust me. How do I know? Because I've done it for so many years. This is where I'm going to end. It looks like, 32 minutes. So it went long today. So this is all I want to share with you today. Like I said, this is going to be number 1, part 1 of many series to come, because warehouse operation is something where I spent years transforming it, something that I feel proud that till today, that government entity that I worked for still saving money. I know they are. We built a system, we developed people, and there's a great people in that city working there right now and following those steps, following the system that we put in place, in that way helping the people, the taxpayers, the water ratepayers, and other like street lighting, the people that pay electricity, they are saving the money on an annual basis. And I feel very proud of that. And that is something that you and your team can do as well. All right. As we wrap up episode 7, part 1 of this warehouse transformation series, remember this. The savings didn't come from cutting people or buying expensive systems. Number 1, they came from better systems, clear flow, and stronger leadership behaviors. In the next episode, we'll continue this series by diving deeper into how we redesign the warehouse, improved material flow, and made performance visible every single day. Make sure you subscribe to Lean in Government on YouTube, podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, so you don't miss part 2 next week. Thank you for listening, and remember, Lean is not a project, it is a way of thinking and leading. Until next time, lean in.